I think after my first year of training, I've got a definite kind of process in how to develop a character much more clearly. Before this year, I think everything that I did was kind of wing it and hope for the best, or have like a genuine general idea of what I wanted to do. I've really connected with practitioners such as Stanislavsky and Merlin, and Meisner, which have been really great for me getting past the blocks and issues that I've had when I've been acting. I've also discovered the absolute importance of the actor's homework, so that I can have detailed work throughout everything I do, that then aids me as being a tool of communication when it comes to serving the narrative arc of the play so that the audience can better understand what's going on. The development of technique has come from the many challenges that I faced organically, which has allowed me to create a toolbox of techniques that I can create a specific sense of truth so that I can clarify the scenic and specific objectives of my character. So in preparation for a role, I think the first important thing to focus on is the actor's homework. I think what's important is that, as Benedetti says, that as an actor, no matter what, at the center of every character is always me. I need to create a present character who the audience accepts as a fully rounded person. I think this comes from what Stanislavski said, is that the actor who is most likely to affect an audience is the one who understands why we behave and how we behave in our daily lives. So coming through the actor's homework, I faced the problem that I was quite general when I was acting, that nothing was detailed. The devil is in the detail. That is where character really comes through. So I focused on relationships because I've come to learn through the actor's homework that relationship is so important to any form of drama. It's one of the key components of acting. Therefore, I use the 6 questions such as, what do others say about me? What do I say about myself? What do I say about the world, etc. To focus on really the objective facts about my character. I think this is really good because having it all laid out in front of me means that I'm able to go through and mine the text, form a opinion on who this person is, and then use that in my subjective analysis to really help myself fall in love with my character. I think this is the best thing, that looking through my actor's homework, I'm able to take the facts that are from the play and create subjective analysis such as poetry and stories, positive stories that are watershed moments in my character's life that help me endow and ground everything that I'm doing and saying in the rehearsal process and then the execution of the performance, so that nothing is left to second guesses when it comes to performing. Also, understanding what I say about others means that I'm able to use Uta Hagen's notions of endowment and substitution to place like relationships onto my acting partners, meaning that therefore if I'm able to make relationships believable to myself, I'm able to make them believable to the audience, which comes from, again, placing endowment and substitution. And I think the effect of this in execution meant that I was fully able to invest in the relationships. Therefore, when I'm listening and responding to my scene partner, I'm able to act in a way that is intrinsic to the way I would act in that relationship, as opposed to it being a general act. It means that I'm affected by the fact that this person is my lover or my enemy, and therefore the tactics that I play or the actions that I play are affected by that. This meant, because of my actor's homework, when it came to performing Uncle Vanya, I was able to adapt to the different actions that my scene partner played. So when Laura in Uncle Vanya played slightly different tactics towards me as Astrov, it meant rather than going in guns blazing with actions I pre-rehearsed, I was able to adapt what I'd done based on the fact that Laura was playing someone who is my best friend, kind of like a sister to me, but I know that she's in love with me and I don't feel that same love to her. However, the use of relationship is something that I discovered kind of late on to my process. I think I need to implement it more early on in my rehearsal process, so that the relationship with other characters and also relationship with myself as a character and the world informs everything that I do, because without relationship there is no drama. So I think another one of the issues that I face in development and execution of a role is the ability to listen and be in the moment throughout a piece. Obviously this comes greatly down to stamina and practice of this. The problem I face is that sometimes I don't truly listen to my partner, perhaps out of fear, and therefore enforce my own will. Therefore I decided to employ Merlin's technique of active analysis and silent etudes that help me tackle 2 problems. The first problem is that I can then place my focus entirely on my scene partner during rehearsal, which means the effect of that giving me an automatic response to what my partner does, rather than me focusing and worrying about what I'm going to do next, which I think again comes out of fear of trying to make the scene good. This also helped me in my preparation for the role, because through active analysis I was able to figure out more interesting tactics by applying a problem and a pressing issue in each scene, so that I could continually go back to the text, analyze what tactics I played in the active analysis improvisation, and therefore see if there's any juicier or more interesting tactics, or if I'd had in fact found the perfect tactic. It also meant that I was fully able to realize the subtext of each scene. So perhaps in the map scene, rather than Astrov being awkward and unsure, he's actually driven and totally sure that he has got Elena in his grasp, meaning that when he's saying, okay fine, I'm going to leave, he's using this to bait Elena. So I bait you in Marina Caldrone's kind of method of actions, one breath, one thought, one action, I bait you, as opposed to I flee you, which then creates more of an interesting narrative arc over the scene, and therefore helps me fulfill my objective to get Elena to take a walk on the wild side. I used active analysis in conjunction with my preparation of a character analysis sheet to focus on first what do I do as an actor or as a person, and then move gradually, applying small drops of character step by step, so that gradually I move until I'm complete with the character, allowing me to analyze, okay, what is something that I do that I can use for Astrov or Vanya, or what is something that is not like me that I need to change and adapt so that I can more affect my partner as Vanya or as Astrov would do. Which again falls in with Benedetti's idea that there is no character, that at the core of every character is the actor. I think the result of active analysis is that I felt a lot more confident when performing, that my concentration of attention, as Stanislavsky talks about it, is generally on my partner rather than worrying if I'm going to be good or worrying about the audience. However, it's not totally there, and I do still need to work on my fear and self-consciousness. It meant that when I was focused, new choices came out in performance. So in the performance of Vanya, when I was trying to get Vanya to talk to me, I, spur of the moment, improvised and did a bugle call with a bottle of vodka to be playful and lure Vanya into coming to drink with me so that I can get him to tell me about the situation between him and Elena, therefore aiding my objective pursuit and also getting rid of my sense of fear and being free when performing. To develop this further in my execution, I'm going to continue to work on placing my focus on my target, as Declan Donovan calls it, so that I can stop focusing on how I'm doing and more focus on my driven pursuit of objective. The next way of preparing in my methodology is the use of animal studies. This is something that has aided me right through from preparation, development, and execution. Jack Lecoq says that the study of movement brings us closer to the human body and the creation of character. I very much wanted to use this because in my contemporary scene study of The Wall, I was very much using my own movement, my own posture, nothing that was really like my character, and habits that I had dictated what I did rather than my own specific choices. I decided to therefore use animal studies for each character to study how the animal moves in preparation, so that I could capture what Yoshi Aida talks about as an essence of the character, or what Chekhov talks about as a soul dance or a physical gesture. The way I decided on each animal was that I prepared my objective analysis, looking at how people and the character describes himself. So for Astrov, for instance, everyone describes him as being charming, as being elegant, yet he himself describes himself as overthinking, having problems, being awkward and useless. So I sat and I thought, and this reminded me very much of a swan who on the surface is elegant and graceful, yet underneath their legs are flapping away like mad, and they're constantly kicking and working. I think this is also quite similar to the movement styles of Laban, which is like to glide and dab, which also helps me with my accent work. I really think animal studies is one of the best things that's helped me with my methodology. I think the key thing that's helped me with animal studies is that animals think instinctively, therefore it's removed any artifice that I have as an actor and helping me be more playful and freely expressive with my body. This meant from development and execution kind of ways is that, one, I'm instinctively thinking of new tactics or new actions in reply to my character, and two, the way that I move becomes less like Gavin and more like Vanya, Astrov, or any other character that I choose to play in the future. I think animal studies is something that is definitely going to be the core of all my work. I think to develop it further, I'd like to spend more time being an animal and seeing how I can gradually turn it into a human. I think I did a very, very good job with Astrov and Vanya using a swan and an orangutan. However, I only spent about 45 minutes on each and then tried to generally just in the rehearsal process use it. I think what I'd like to do is bring it more 24/7 so that my embodiment of my character becomes more second nature through the use of deliberate practice. So from rehearsal, some of the feedback that I gave myself and others gave me was the fact that I would slip out of the physicality of my character. And I really wanted to fix this so that I could bring on full endowment and connection of the thoughts of my character as well as the physicality of my character. So to do this, I decided to immerse myself in the world of my character. I wanted to focus on the imaginative world that the play asks us to enter when we read it, as Cicely Berry says. I did this in multiple ways. One was by adopting the choices that my character would make. So such as when I was drinking in my own personal social life, I would only drink vodka straight and make sure that it was a shot, toast. So to study this, I studied Russian drinking customs, as well as the fact that Astrov has a struggle with alcohol. So I looked at the habits of alcoholics to see the fact that Astrov would not just every day decide to drink, but every day was a struggle of whether he did or didn't drink. The next thing I did was focus on the movement of my character. So again, adopting animal studies but moving to more human, I decided to focus on Astrov and Vanya's physical postures, as well as their center of gravity. So Astrov I placed very much in his chest, whereas Vanya I placed very much in his lower belly / groin area, to give more of an essence of their age and way of moving. However, I believe in execution of this, I could have been more specific with the impalements that my characters faced, whilst Vanya, I focus very much on his slack posture. I should have considered perhaps the tiredness of his body, as well as Astrov, that while he is very elegant and graceful, when it came to execution, sometimes I would go into my own kind of monkey-like energy, as opposed to Astrov and his 37-year-old tired energy that still wanted me to be expressive and free. That being said, I think in my execution of the roles, I had clear different characteristics between Astrov and Vanya, choosing to ground them in separate ways. And I think this is something I greatly improved on from The Wall and contemporary scene study, where Barry was very much just the way that I moved, not thinking about the fact that he was younger than I am, or the fact that he had a very different life that I have. The next thing that I wanted to do was, for my voice work, is really connect and endow the words that I use. From my objective analysis, I discovered that Astrov in Vanya was very much a poetical kind of person. He often spends long speeches talking about the beauty of the world around him, and in my subjective analysis, I wrote poetry as Astrov to a girl called Maya that Astrov had previously fallen in love with. I think this really helped me psychologically engage with the thoughts of Astrov, as well as the way he views the world. One of the ways I did this is because Astrov in his spare time is invested in forestry, conservation and map painting. I spent 20 minutes to an hour each night painting the maps that Astrov talks about in my map speech. This meant that it transformed my connection with the words, meaning that I had created an actual world and physical point of reference for my speech, meaning that I could endow the words, the beauty of the world, such as the elks and the geese. I think this really worked for me in terms of engaging with my objective pursuit. So in the map scene, Astrov is talking about the maps as a tool to engage and show his passion towards Elena, into the hopes that she will fall in love with him. So one of my actions was, I transport you, and I decided to emphasize this. I super transport you, adding an adverb to it so that I could elevate the stakes of what I was trying to do. And I think this really worked. Because I had engaged with an imaginative world of where I was showing Elena, I was able to reference the maps as well as the third circle of attention that I had, so that I could really transport her, therefore aiding my objective pursuit and being a tool of communication to the audience. I did this by linking to the work of Barbara Hausman. I used Barbara Hausman's technique of coloring the text by highlighting first words that I wanted to endow to really emphasize my point to the characters, as well as repeating small chunks of text multiple times to allow me deliberately to choose words to stress and increase stakes on, so that I could emphasize and affect my scene partner. And this meant in the execution of my forestry speech, I was able to reflect on the relationships during the scene, listen to what each scene partner was giving me, and use specific words and actions in the moment to affect my scene partners, to convince them of my point of view, therefore aiding my technical need to be a tool of communication to the audience and my scene partners. I think a review of this in the future work, I'd like to give more time to incorporating 24/7 the physicality and choices of my character. I think while it was good that I did it when it came to downtime, I got a bit lazy with my character and could have adopted more characteristics of my character so that it's more precise and more clear. However, that being said, I think I'd come leaps and bounds from the work I'd done in contemporary scene study, where I'd not really thought about what I was doing at all. I think one of the next big things that helped me when it came to my performance is the use of Stanislavski's method of physical action, and the development on this by Marina Caldrone, using actions to affect and help you achieve your objective pursuit. This helped me very much realize the idea that character comes from the idea of needs and decision, or the need of the character plus the actions that the character takes to achieve what they want. I think the key aspect that I've discovered with this is that I need to really implement the idea of deliberate practice, that I break down slowly and play each action physically at 10%, 20%, 70% and 100%, so that it's engraved in my subconscious physically and mentally. I think this really helps me with execution in performance, because it means that if I'm having a day where I don't feel inspiration strike me in the mid of a performance, I have a safety net of actions that I can use to still be affected and affect my partner in my objective pursuit. I think this means that I can still be free and spontaneous. However, if I don't feel inspired in the moment, I know I can still play an action I've rehearsed that can affect my partner, and then allow myself to be affected so that I can then make a decision to play the action that I've rehearsed before or play a new action in the moment. This means that when I've been doing my work in preparation, I've been collecting a bank of actions for each line as opposed to just one. I think what really aided me in performance was an execution of my role was the idea that I then decided to add adverbs to each action. So rather than I mock you in the map scene to try and get Elena to fall in love with me, which something can come across as quite harsh, I playfully mock you, which aids my objective of flirting with her and convincing her to be with me or take a walk on the wild side. This means that in performance I'm much more expressive because I've got a more specific idea of how to play the action as opposed to just a general kind of verb which can be done in a multitude of ways. I do believe that I need to set in future more time to really focus on my task and tactics, that sometimes when I'm not totally clear with what my character is trying to do, I drop out energy wise and therefore don't play something that is fully engraved in me. I'd really like to in future combine this with the work on active analysis and silent etude that Bell and Merlin recommends, so that I can pick more accurate tactics that my character would choose, so that I can therefore implement Stanislavski's idea of the magic if, of what would I do if I was this given character in these given circumstances, rather than choosing actions that are intrinsic to Gavin and ones that perhaps jar with what my character is trying to achieve. I think overall, in conclusion of this year, I have developed a lot. I think my self-consciousness has dropped loads, although it's still something I need to work on through the use of concentration of attention and driven objective pursuit. I believe I'm really developing my own personal independent methodology that is working for me. There are areas that I need to develop on that lack clarity, such as when preparing a role through my actor's homework, finding more ways to connect to the needs and wants of my character as well as the subtext of my character. I think what I'm going to work through in future is working on Uta Hagen's 7 questions of who am I, where am I, what do I want, what's my obstacle, being more clear and breaking the script down into further units and bits, as Stanislavsky talks them, so that I've got more clarity in my work. I also want to continue on my diction and support issues. I know that in execution of performance, sometimes what I'm saying can be lost, which can affect, therefore, the narrative arc of the play, because everything I'm saying is not being... And generally, I think I need to commit more time to deliberate practice and the physical embodiment of my character, so that I can get more freedom and expressiveness, so that I feel comfortable in the physicality of my character, and comfortable in the psychology of my character, and